the psychology of people who keep their circle extremely small. You don't have a big friend group. You have maybe 2 people you actually trust. 3 if you're feeling generous. And you're not sad about it. You're not lonely. You're actually kind of fine. But every once in a while, someone looks at you like you're broken, like keeping a small circle is a symptom of something, like you're one canceled plan away from becoming a hermit. Here's the thing, you're not broken. You're actually operating from a very specific psychological wiring. And once you understand it, everything about how you move through the world starts to make perfect sense. Let's paint the picture. You're at a party. Not your party, someone dragged you. And someone asks, "So who did you come with?" And you say one name, just one. And they go, "Oh, just the one friend," with that little tilt of the head. And you smile. But internally you're thinking, yes, just the one who actually matters. Because here's what people with small circles understand that most people don't. Connection isn't measured in volume. It's measured in depth. And you figured that out, probably the hard way, a long time ago. But this isn't just a personality preference. There's a whole psychological framework behind why certain people are literally wired to operate this way. And it starts with something called Dunbar's number. British anthropologist Robin Dunbar discovered that the human brain, specifically the neocortex, can only maintain meaningful social relationships with about 150 people at a time. That's the outer limit. But meaningful is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Within those 150, there are inner rings, about 50 acquaintances, about 15 people you'd call friends, and then the innermost ring, about 5 people you genuinely trust with your life. Most people stretch that inner ring. They water it down. They call 30 people their close friends, and then wonder why they feel emotionally empty after every hangout. People with small circles don't do that. They protect that inner ring like it's sacred, because to them, it is. Here's where it gets interesting. We've been told our whole lives that the more people love you, the better you're doing. More followers, more invites, more birthday texts, more proof that you matter. But psychology calls that a social validation trap, and people who escape it, who genuinely don't need a crowd to feel whole. They didn't get there by accident. Most of them got there through disappointment, through showing up for people who didn't show up back. They're realizing that being surrounded by people is not the same as being known by people. And once you learn that lesson, really learn it, not just intellectually understand it, you can never go back to collecting friendships like they're Pokemon cards. Here's the psychological term you need to know: selective trust formation. People with small circles aren't antisocial. In fact, many of them are deeply social. Warm, funny, emotionally intelligent, great in a room. But they have a very high internal threshold for who gets access to the real them. Psychologists link this trait to something called attachment style calibration. After repeated experiences of emotional disappointment, a friend who gossiped, a group that turned on them, a relationship that ended in betrayal, the brain adapts. It builds a more sophisticated filter. Think of it like an immune system. The first time you get sick, your body learns. The next time that same threat shows up, you don't get as sick. Your antibodies are ready. Emotionally, people with small circles have highly trained antibodies. They can spot inauthenticity fast. They can feel when someone is performing friendship rather than offering it. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. And it is genuinely a form of emotional intelligence. But this is the part nobody talks about. If you're watching this, there's a good chance you've been made to feel like something is wrong with you for not wanting a massive social life. Maybe someone called you cold, or distant, or hard to get close to. Maybe you've even said those things to yourself. But here's what I want you to actually hear. The people who keep their circles small are often the most emotionally generous people in the room. They just don't give that energy to everyone. They give it fully to the few. And that's not a flaw. That's integrity. That's choosing quality over performance. That's deciding your emotional energy is a resource, not an unlimited free sample. You're not closed off, you're selective. And there is a profound difference between the two. And this changes everything. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people with fewer but deeper friendships reported significantly higher levels of life, satisfaction, emotional stability, and sense of purpose than those with large, shallow social networks. But here's the kicker. They also showed lower rates of social anxiety, which completely flips the narrative, right? We assume that the person with 50 friends is more confident, more secure, but the data says the opposite. Why? Because maintaining shallow relationships is exhausting. It requires constant performance, constant calibration. Who knows what about you? What version of yourself are you presenting right now? It's a full-time job. People with small circles don't have that cognitive load. They can just be. And that psychological freedom, the freedom to be fully yourself with the people around you, turns out to be one of the strongest predictors of long-term mental health. Now let's go somewhere a little deeper, because it's not just about trust filters and cognitive load. For a lot of people with small circles, there's something more personal underneath all of it. There was probably a moment, maybe in childhood, maybe in your teens, maybe in your 20s, where you gave someone a lot of yourself. You were open, you were vulnerable, you were all in, and it didn't go the way you hoped. Maybe they left. Maybe they used what you shared against you. Maybe they just stopped showing up. And in that moment, something recalibrated inside you. Not dramatically, not with a declaration, just quietly. The math changed. You started investing less widely and more deeply. You started asking not, does this person like me, but does this person see me? That shift, that's not damage. That's development. That's emotional wisdom earning its stripes. Here's where it gets interesting again. Society has sold us a story that loneliness is the enemy and the antidote is more people. But psychologists are increasingly arguing that the real epidemic isn't loneliness, it's pseudo-connection. It's being surrounded by people who don't actually know you, performing wellness, performing happiness, smiling at people whose last names you don't know while your actual inner world goes unwitnessed. People with small circles instinctively reject pseudo-connection. And here's the reframe. Having no one who truly knows you is lonelier than being alone. And most people with massive social lives are living in exactly that kind of loneliness. They just have more noise to cover it up with. You, with your 2 or 3 people who actually get it. You might be doing something that looks like withdrawal to the outside world, but is actually one of the most psychologically sophisticated things a person can do. You are choosing real over many, and that takes courage, honestly, because real can leave, real can hurt, real requires you to actually show up, not just appear. So what does this all mean? It means if you spent years wondering if you're wired wrong, if you felt the subtle pressure to be more open, more social, more available to more people, you can let that go. Your small circle isn't evidence of fear. It might be evidence of wisdom. It might be evidence that you've already learned what most people spend a lifetime trying to figure out, that being known, truly known, by even one person is worth more than being liked by 100. There's a quote often attributed to various sources, but the psychology behind it is real. Quality of connection, not quantity, is the most reliable predictor of human flourishing. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not working on yourself, in the broken sense. You've already done a version of the work of figuring out what real feels like and refusing to settle for anything less. Keep the circle small. Keep it honest. Keep it yours. Now, if this resonated with you, there's a reason. And it might go even deeper than just friendship patterns, because people who keep their circles small often share a very specific psychological profile, and it connects to how they process emotion, how they handle conflict, and why they tend to feel things more intensely than others. That's exactly what we break down in the next video. And if you've made it this far, I think you already know it's going to hit close to home. It's right there. Go watch it.